As one of the biggest breakthrough LA metal bands of the 80s, Ratt was catapulted into international headliner status with insanely catchy melodies, a cool look, and outstanding guitar playing. Put on your headphones and get ready to rat and roll as we check out the history, the albums, and the videos of Ratt. Ratt was originally formed in 1976 in San Diego, California, under the name Mickey Ratt, with Stephen Pearcy on vocals and guitar, Chris Hager on guitar, Tim Garcia on bass, and Bob Eisenberg on drums. After being inspired by a Van Halen show, Stephen moved the band to Los Angeles in 1980, but by 1981, Stephen was the only remaining member. The band went through a couple different lineups, including future Ozzy Osbourne guitarist Jake E. Lee, and eventually shortened the name to just Ratt. Stephen would recruit his friend Robbin Crosby on rhythm guitar, along with an impressive 18-year-old kid from San Diego named Warren DeMartini on lead guitar. With Matt Thor on bass and Kurt Meyer on drums, this lineup of Ratt would record a track for Metal Massacre Volume 1 called Tell the World.
Tell the world, tell the world, I'm holding on. And tell the world, I'm growing strong. Yeah.
By the end of 1982, the classic lineup of Ratt would finally be established with the addition of Juan Croucier on bass and Bobby Blotzer on drums. Also around this time, Ratt would start to be managed by Marshall Burrell, and they'd release a self-titled EP on Time Coast Records. The EP is definitely not as polished as what the band would put out later, but after years of performing, they definitely have the energy and attitude down.
You think you're tough, high on the stone, you think you're tough. You toss getting out, you think you're tough. Higher than stone, you think you're tough.
Plus, the guitar solos already kick ass. Those fishnet-covered legs on the front belonged to Robin Crosby's girlfriend at the time, Tawny Katane. She'd also appear on the front cover of Ratt's full-length album the following year, Out of the Cellar. After finally getting signed to Atlantic Records, Ratt had a major label behind them, and Out of the Cellar was an immediate success. They started getting a ton of radio airplay, with a cross-country tour to support the album. They were also heavily featured on MTV, with 3 videos from the album. The opening track, Wanted Man, got a video with the whole opening and everything. The band's tour bus winds up in an old west town, and the guys get out to explore.
Let's check this place out. It looks like a bar, man. Ain't no bar, that's a saloon.
As soon as Ratt gets into the saloon, they're suddenly wearing cowboy gear and riding horses. We also see Marshall Burrell, playing cards. The Ratt gang make their way to the saloon, where some of the other cowboys aren't being nice to the ladies, and our guys don't take too kindly to it. A brawl breaks out, and after the solo, things have escalated to a shootout. and everyone starts shooting at each other. Suddenly, Bobby falls out of the saloon chair to reveal it was all a dream. Or was it? Oh, this one's a dream within a dream. Very clever, Ratt.
Seeing as how the song was about cowboys and stuff, and that is something that we've all sort of fantasized about. I turned it into a dream of mine on the tour bus, and taking us into old Tucson, and the rest is history, as they say.
The mega hit single Round and Round also got a video. This one starts out with some rich people having dinner, and for some reason, the butler is helping Ratt sneak into the house so they can have a jam session. Also, Marshall Burl's uncle, Milton Burl, appears in the video. Because of course, what a cool 1980s video needs is an entitled comedian from 30 years ago.
I'm giving you a fucking space so you can cut back and forth. Okay. I know exactly what I'm doing.
Okay.
The girl at the table claims she can't hear the band playing upstairs. But it's really driving Milton crazy, so he turns to his other guest, who is him in drag. Milton and Milton decide to leave while the rest of the guests have wine. You can tell the butler is cool because he has a studded bracelet on. Eventually, the metal chick heads upstairs where the cool kids are and passes the butler on the staircase with the main course. Then Warren jumps through the ceiling to kick off one of my all-time favorite solos. The epicness of Warren and Robbin's solo drives the guests out of the house, while the girl from before morphs either into a rat or Gozer from Ghostbusters.
Round and round, what comes around goes around, I'll tell you why.
The butler, meanwhile, is loving it. I guess his plan was to just get a night off. Tawny Katane returns in the Back for More video, this time as a bored, underdressed waitress with personal space issues. She plays Back for More on the jukebox and starts thinking about how dreamy Robbin is. Suddenly, Robbin and Bobby show up and tell Tawny and the other waitress to come along. They all pile into Robbin's car, leaving the restaurant with no wait staff. Then we see Tawny and her friend with Marshall at another restaurant. This time, Warren and Juan show up, snap their fingers, and the two girls take off with them. Their boss is still chasing them and gets the cops involved. We're suddenly back with Bobby and Robbin, and Bobby gets pulled out of the car by the cops, who reveal themselves to be Tommy Lee and Nikki Sixx from Mötley Crüe before beating the shit out of Bobby. And then Robbin drives off with both girls. Later, outside a show, Stephen picks up a girl standing in line. Then some moron on a motorcycle follows them inside. And what comedy genius could this possibly be crashing the show? Of course, Uncle Mötley. All kidding aside, Out of the Cellar holds up incredibly well. Even outside of Round and Round, it's a great balance of melodic poppy metal and awesome solos. With his pinched, nasally vocals, Stephen Pearcy isn't your typical high-pitched metal singer, but that's also part of what makes it work. He might not have a huge range, but his voice has an edge to it that gives Ratt's music a different sort of flavor.
We're gonna get you what you're gonna do. We're gonna get you what you're gonna do. You're in trouble. What are you gonna do? You're in trouble. It's what you're going through.
Due to the success of Out of the Cellar, Atlantic re-released the Ratt EP, and this time, You Think You're Tough got a video. It starts off with Stephen driving his fancy new car around Los Angeles while watching Ratt videos on his incredibly unsafe car television. He goes through all the videos from the first album, then lands on Ozzy Osbourne with a rat on his shoulder before the video goes into concert footage.
You say it's real. We'll have an honest show and no one to see you, maybe. You'll take a while. Don't even stop when you get to the end. Just say, hey.
Meanwhile, Meanwhile, Stephen drives around Hollywood until he finds a Marilyn Monroe impersonator standing outside Grauman's Chinese Theater and invites her into his fancy new car. Then he calls Warren on a payphone to tell him about it, I guess. Eventually, Stephen picks up the rest of the band, and the track wraps up with some behind-the-scenes footage and cameos.
And we did the video there, and we had all of our friends down, a lot of other guys that are in bands, like, you know, Ozzy's in it, and some of the guys from Mötley, and some of the guys from Scorps, and Carmine Apps, just Shaky Lee, all these friends. And backstage, we were, after the show, back having drinks and stuff, we got everybody in it. So yeah, that's, you know, I love that video.
Suddenly, one of the biggest metal bands in the country, Ratt would release their second album, Invasion of Your Privacy, in 1985.
You strip a lightning, you're in love.
Titling the album "Invasion of Your Privacy" isn't like an offensive thing. You know, we don't mean it as that. We just mean it as we came from just Ratt to Ratt, and then we came out of the Cellar. So we decided now we're invading your privacy. We're in your homes. Personally, I think it's much more of a fun record, you know.
Invasion of Your Privacy is a fun record, and while nothing on it really makes it into Round and Round territory, it's a more polished version of what worked on Out of the Cellar. Plus, the guitar work continues to get even better. Aside from You're in Love, there was also a video for the track Lay It Down. This one takes place at a birthday party for a young Stephen Pearcy, who's played by Whit Hertford, who you may recognize as the Raptors Don't Sound Scary kid from Jurassic Park.
Okay, now, Stephen, blow out the candles.
Wait, Stephen, don't forget to make a wish.
Young, pale Stephen Pearcy thinks about what to wish for, and when he does, we're whisked away to where Ratt is playing, and a grown-up Stephen sings to the grown-up little girl from the party.
It's about a dream fantasy I had when I was 5 years old, to be a rock and roller and meet a pretty girl and all the other good stuff.
Despite internal issues like Stephen recording vocals separately and Robbin's growing drug problem, Ratt would put out Dancing Undercover, another platinum album, in 1986. While Invasion of Your Privacy was a good but fairly similar follow-up to Out of the Cellar, Dancing Undercover does feel a bit more mature musically, mostly due to Warren DeMartini's continually developing guitar skills. Plus, it's got Body Talk on it, which may be the most Mötley Crüe-ish of Ratt songs. But the Mötley Crüe track it reminds me of most is Wild Side, and that came out a year later, so I'm sure there was a lot of mutual influence going on. The opening track, Dance, also got a video. In it, we see the Ratt guys at the Whiskey trying to have a relaxing evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, the band is going to take a short break. We'll be back here in 15 minutes. Seated out there in the audience tonight are 5 guys who got their start right here on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, here they are, Ratt. Come on, let's get up.
With no warning and only 15 minutes for a set, Ratt agrees to play their new single during intermission. And presumably, whoever is actually playing the club tonight has to come back out and follow this.
Hi, what you're gonna see now is our new video, one of our best videos ever, believe me you. It's Slip of the Lip, and the best thing I like about this video is the lips.
The video for Slip of the Lip opens with Kitty Galore from Spy magazine getting her impossible mission on cassette tape.
Good evening, Miss Galore. The 5 men you are looking at are a band called Ratt. Your assignment, if you decide to accept, is to get photographs that no other magazine has been able to get and find out what dancing undercover is all about.
So she goes to the Ratt concert with her camera, ready to snap some shots. Apparently the pictures from the show aren't enough though, because Kitty shows up at Stephen's room to take more. Stephen takes the opportunity to start making out with her and also steal the film from her camera, because it turns out Stephen Pearcy is an expert at spycraft.
What is this? This is a new record. We just brought a record for you. Just came hot off the press.
Released in 1988, Reach for the Sky had more behind-the-scenes problems, including going through 2 producers. First Mike Stone, and then back to Beau Hill, who'd produced all the band's previous full-length records. The strain on Ratt starts to show on this one to me, but it's still not terrible. It is full-on commercial pop rock, but there are some good tracks on it. They'd actually have a minor hit on this one with the single Way Cool Jr.
It was kind of funny because Mike passed on the song altogether. It wasn't until we got back together with Beau that he insisted we record Way Cool Jr., else it wouldn't be on there now.
This one has an Aerosmith vibe to it, and also features a horn section. I Want a Woman also got a video, which for me is actually one of the better tracks on the album, even though it didn't even chart as a single. There is for sure some fluff on here too though, especially in the middle, but honestly, even the less memorable tracks are elevated to some extent by Warren's guitar work.
You guys are in the studio now.
We will be soon.
With a new producer?
Oh, yes, and we start recording March 15th, and we'll have a record out in June.
The producer is?
It's a secret.
Ratt's 5th album, Detonator, was produced by Desmond Child and Arthur Payson. It was also the first Ratt album to only go gold rather than platinum. There's even more filler on this one than Reach for the Sky, but that said, the singles are actually still pretty catchy. The album opens with Shame, 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 which got a video with a fighter pilot and strippers theme. One of the strippers attacks Ratt, and the guys have no choice but to fight back. The stripper has to eject from her plane, and as she parachutes down, Stephen reverses the engine from his jet and blows her dress off. Then she appropriately pulls out a detonator and blows up the Ratt jet, causing the band to have to bail too. Lovin' You's a Dirty Job also got a video, and to remind you that it's exactly 1990, everyone is wearing wife beaters tucked into jeans. This one is just okay, but I give it a pass because I like the bridge. Detonator also contains Ratt's only power ballad, which is kind of a shame because it's pretty good. The following summer, Ratt would get the first track on the Point Break soundtrack with Nobody Rides for Free. More than anything, it really just makes me want to watch Point Break again. Ratt seemed to be staying busy through the early 90s, but Robbin's drug addiction would eventually lead to him getting kicked out of the band and briefly replaced on tour by Michael Schenker before Ratt fell apart completely in 1992.
Towards the end of the last tour, things had become somewhat unmanageable with Stephen, And so after the tour was over, Stephen announced on the radio that he was no longer a member of the group. That summer, that was in about February of '92, that summer Warren DeMartini quit, and that left with Bobby and I owning the name Ratt, but unable to basically use it.
However, in 1996, Ratt would reform as a four-piece with Stephen, Warren, and Bobby, and new bassist Robbie Crane. They'd put out a compilation album of alternate recordings and B-sides called Collage to coincide with their reunion tour, but would sign with Sony in 1998 to release a self-titled full-length album in 1999. This album goes in a far more different direction than previous Ratt albums, with some blues and even a country feel to a few songs. In fact, Stephen even sounds like he's trying to do a sort of a southern accent in We Don't Belong.
A faded picture of your photograph. You said that times like these it wouldn't last.
That said, I don't dislike the album, but I also wouldn't recommend it as a metal album.
Don't belong. I told you for the last time. Still the same old song. I heard it all the first time.
In early 2000, Stephen would leave the band again, and everyone would go on to their own side projects for a while. In 2001, Robbin revealed that he'd been diagnosed with HIV in 1994. He'd pass away from a heroin overdose in June of 2002. I know I've talked a lot about Warren in this video, but that's not to take anything away from Robbin, who wasn't just the leader of the band, but also clearly the heart and soul of it as well, even if he wasn't the technical virtuoso that Warren came to be. After a few years apart, Stephen, Warren, Bobby, and Robbie would get with second guitarist Juan Croucier to tour and try to get over personal differences.
Still working on it, man. I ran into you on the street on Ventura Boulevard. Yeah. And there was like, what are we doing? Let's get back to work. I think that started to, plant the idea that it was possible.
However, Crosby would be replaced by former Quiet Riot guitarist Carlos Cavazo in 2008. This lineup would record Ratt's seventh album, Infestation, in 2010. This one kicks off with Eat Me Up Alive, a high-energy track that sounds like it would be right at home on Out of the Cellar or Invasion of Your Privacy. Best of Me also got a video. It starts off with a couple of kids who come across a hole in a building and some abandoned sunglasses. They somehow make the connection to put the glasses on and then look through the hole to see Ratt. Eventually, Ratt starts playing a show, and the kids film it on their phone through the sunglasses. This somehow projects the show to the rest of the world. It can connect to GPS devices and also takes over some kids' video game system. Overall, Infestation feels like it's going for that 80s style and pulls it off for the most part. But those opening tracks are the strongest for me. Ratt would break up again by the end of the year due to internal issues, and they'd all spend 2015 to 2018 suing each other, arguing over biography titles, and trying to form their own versions of the band. Things seem to have mellowed out somewhat though, and some of the guys have played together since, including in a Geico commercial. Stephen and Juan apparently have a Ratt group together currently that may or may not release new material in the future, so we'll see. Until then, go listen to the Ratt EP from 1983, Out of the Cellar from 1984, Invasion of Your Privacy from 1985, and Dancing Undercover from 1986. For extra credit, Reach for the Sky and Detonator are both worth checking out, and Infestation is a really solid attempt at recapturing that old school feel. I hope you enjoyed this look back at a band that has way more to look into than just one big hit song. Thanks for watching.